What is going on, everybody? We are back with our team reviews. We're on to the Philadelphia Eagles. I think after this, we'll have 6 more teams to go over. So we're getting to the end. It is August 17th. I think the Eagles are playing tonight, actually. Thursday, August 17th. They might be playing now. But anyways, the point is a lot can change from now to your drafts, which hopefully happen in early September, about 2 weeks away. Dad, Philadelphia Eagles, there's just... Man, their draft they had, it's like I don't know, everyone was overthinking it. Georgia, back-to-back national championships, NFL caliber defense in college, yet the Eagles said, yeah, we'll take 2 players in the first round from the best defense in college football that we've seen in a long time. And it's just like, man, how did they get these guys? Eagles, best team in the NFC, Dad? I mean, is there anyone else?
Yeah, they could be. I mean, we'll see. They had a complete redo in their backfield and their running back situation. So, we'll see how everything kind of pans out. Most everything else is together. We'll see how the defense holds up, and I'm not going to get all gushy about their defense and stuff like that. So they couldn't. If you remember last year in the Super Bowl, they certainly were not stopping Kansas City in the running game, especially in the second half. So just roll that tape back and take a look.
They also didn't have a sack, even though they set the record for most sacks in the season.
Yeah, there you go. That's right.
But still, they're still a really good team.
They are.
We'll get right into it, and it starts with the quarterback, who I really, really like, Jalen Hurts. The guy, I've liked him for a while, and he's a stud. He would have been quarterback 1 last year I think he missed 2 games. Had he not missed those 2 games, he would have been quarterback 1. Even with missing those 2 games, I think he was only like 40 points behind the QB1 last year, which is very impressive. Let me just 40 points behind, missing 2 games. Yeah. He was only 15 points less than Allen. Allen played a full season. Jalen Hurts missed 2 games. So Jalen Hurts was a stud. My quarterback strategy is I'm probably not going to be getting Jalen Hurts because he's going in the second round. Now, if he falls to like mid to late third round, maybe I'll take a shot. Just how I play fantasy football, I probably won't be spending a second-round pick on him. But if you're going to spend a second-round pick on a quarterback, Jalen Hurts is the guy. Dad, any arguments with that? I mean, he could be quarterback 1.
No, not really. As I've said in previous videos, I'm an old school football guy, and I was having problems buying into these running quarterbacks, thinking that they don't last. Well, they're not going to last for a long time, but there is a period of time, if it could be 3 to 5 years, that the running part of it, Lamar and Jalen Hurts, it's going to be relevant, and that definitely makes fantasy value. So I'm in on Jalen Hurts.
Yep. If you want him though, you got to pay up for him. You have to take him in the second round, unless something happens, but you basically have to. I mean, yeah, the guy's good. He's improved every year. He was a pretty good passer last year. He threw 3,700 yards, 22 touchdowns. He had another 12 rushing touchdowns or something ridiculous. 23 rushing touchdowns in the last 2 years. That's not going to change because they have an unstoppable play and at the goal line with the rugby push that they did not outlaw, which I was surprised. Because no one can stop that play. There's no one that can stop that. And Jalen Hurts is going to keep getting rushing touchdowns because of it. So not much else to say. The guy's really good. So if you want him, go grab him. I will say this, he's going, guys like Joe Burrow are going in the 3rd round, or even Herbert in the 4th round. If you're going to pay that high for a quarterback, if you're going to take a Joe Burrow in the 3rd or Herbert in the 4th, just take Jalen Hurts in the 2nd because he's going to be better than those guys almost assuredly because fantasy wise at least, because he gives you that rushing production. So don't make that mistake, I would say. The running backs are very interesting. Like you said, Dad, they've kind of rebuilt it all. They brought in traded for DeAndre Swift during the draft. They brought in Rashad Penny before the draft. Both guys have shown the potential of being really good. Health is an issue with both of them, but now they find themselves on maybe the best offensive line, best running team in the league, which is why people are excited about him. Swift has like per touch, per fantasy point per touch, Swift is just like insane. The guy was last year, real quick, in half PPR, he was RB24, which a lot of people don't realize. He missed 3 games. He averaged more points than Najee Harris, Damian Pierce, Travis Etienne, Cordell Patterson, David Montgomery, Jerick McKinnon. He averaged more points he averaged 0.1 point less than Jonathan Taylor. And the guy didn't even have 150 touches, which is insane. That's just like absolutely insane. Like his fantasy points per touch. Dad, is he the RB1 on this team? What do we make of this? Like, would you draft Swift this year as thinking he's going to be the RB1? His cost right now, just so you know, is a mid-6th round pick.
Yeah. I like the guy. Every time, I watched him with the Lions quite a bit, and every time he had the ball in his hands, he was pretty dynamic. The problem is there's always some injury, like every year, it just seemed like there was something wrong, shoulder, the quad, the back, the neck, or something like that. So it's like, I don't know if I can rely on him to be RB1,
Yeah.
But 6th round, yeah, I might be able to do it.
Yeah. You can take the chance for sure. This is if you're drafting now, kind of sucks. This is a backfield like you have to pay attention to what's happening, because we're not really sure. Like if Rashad Penny is in here as well, what's his role? He's the poster child of like, I don't believe in injury prone, except for like when it comes to guys like Rashad Penny, he's really, really good when he's healthy. Top 12 running back good when he's healthy. The problem is he's never healthy, like never healthy. It's just, he started 11 games in his career. He was a 1st round pick in 2018. He's played in 42 games in 5 years. You do the math, that's about 8 games a year that he's playing in. He's missing half the season. But if he's good, he will hit. And he's on the Eagles, so it's so hard. He is currently being drafted as the overall 93. So, Dad, Swift in the 6th round, or do you want Penny in the 8th round?
Wow. I would do Penny in the 8th round. I think, just look at his last 2 years. I know there was only 15 games in those last 2 years that he played. He was averaging over 6 yards a carry, though.
Yeah.
If he could do that over a period of, 12 to 15 games or something, that would be very good for a fantasy team. That would be lights out.
Oh, yeah. 6 yards of carry is insane. Again, not a huge sample size. That's basically 180 carries total over the last 2 years. But let's just say, he stays healthy somehow. Even if he only gets 180 carries, that's 6 yards a carry. That's a 1,000-yard season on 180 carries. So he's not going to probably catch the ball. That's just not in his game. Eagles also don't throw the ball. They had the least amount of passes to running backs last year, 61. So you do the math, that's like 3 a game in a 17-game season. It's because they run half their a quarter of their plays are RPOs. And if you don't know, that's a run pass option, which basically the offensive line thinks it's going to be a run and they're blocking the run, which means they get downfield to the second level. So what you have to do is if you don't run it, you have to pass it right away, or else you get an illegal forward pass or off a legal man downfield. And also what that means is it's basically impossible in an RPO for the running back to catch the ball because he's expecting it to be handed off to him. Unless something breaks down or something, it's virtually impossible. So that's kind of why, they have the low amount. And that I don't really see that changing with this team, which makes me a little worried about Swift as well. The last guy we need to talk about is Kenneth Gainwell, because Nick Sirianni is making comments. Basically, it feels like he's trying to tell us that Kenneth Gainwell is the RB1 on this team. He's made comments on this team. Nick Sirianni he's wearing a T-shirt that has Kenneth Gainwell, a Kenneth Gainwell T-shirt. Like, they're talking him up. Is it coach speak? I don't know, but like it gets this feeling of like, are we just ignoring the complete? Like if it comes to week 1 and Kenneth Gainwell plays 60% of the snaps, and we're just like, well, duh, because Nick Sirianni was telling us this. So I think, to me, like Kenneth Gainwell might be my favorite running back to take for the Eagles, because he's basically undrafted. He's going 170th overall. So, like, even if he isn't that guy, if he doesn't turn out to be the main guy, you just cut him after a couple weeks because you spent a 15th round pick on him. So I'm kind of in on Kenneth Gainwell, and anyone watching this, like, keep that in mind. Like, take a shot, even in like the 13th round. Take a shot on Kenneth Gainwell, because it feels like Nick Sirianni's trying to tell us that he is the guy. So, Boston Scott, if he plays the Giants, start him, because Boston Scott's, his splits against the Giants, I'll tell you right now, in just a second, are insane. He's played 8 games against the Giants, 400 yards, but 10 touchdowns. So you extrapolate that's like a 20 touchdown CE. Always scores a touchdown against the Giants. So keep that in mind for like DFS or whatever. But a lot of value here to be found, and we don't really know who's it going to fall on. So keep an eye on this one, especially the Kenneth Gainwell. Really, in the receivers, there's only 2 guys to talk about, in my opinion. It's A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. Both finished, I believe, as top 10 wide receivers last year. Just double checking that. A.J. Brown was wide receiver 5, and Devontae Smith was wide receiver 10. So A.J. Brown, it was always that the potential was there. Showed it in spurts, maybe never stayed healthy, was always a really good receiver, finally put together a full year for over 1,400 yards, I think double-digit touchdowns. Great year. Devontae Smith, I think, really excelled from not having the attention focused solely on him and A.J. Brown being there, and he thrived. Kind of a boom-bust guy, but a little more consistent near the end of the year. Dad, any problem with having either one of these guys on your team?
No, these are very good receivers. I know Devontae Smith kind of had a little lull last year. I think it was early in the year.
Yeah.
But, those guys are money receivers. And if you can get them on your team after you go through the first round, you get somebody like Cup or
Chase.
Any of those receivers, and you got a chance to grab one of these other guys, A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. You got a very good receiving core, that's for sure.
Yeah, A.J. Brown, you're probably not going to be able to get if you have a top 5-6 pick, because A.J. Brown's going 13th overall, so he's going at that 1-2 turn. So if you're at the end of the draft, like 10th, 11th, 12th, you have a chance to get him along with someone else, but not if you're in the top half. But yeah, Devontae Smith, like you said, you can snag him up. He's going in the 3rd round, just in the beginning of the 3rd round. Both really, really good. You mentioned it. Devontae Smith had some down, like he had some games where it kills you fantasy wise. A 0 game in week 1, 3.2 in week 4, a 3.2 in week 9, a 4.8 in week 8. Those are not good. But then you get the boom games of the 27 points, the 19 points, the 27 points again. So you maybe have to just live with it. I have a question for you, Dad, because I think Devontae Smith and T. Higgins is basically in the same kind of idea, right? They're both going in the early 3rd round. They both are the number 2s on their team. And they both basically averaged the same amount of points last year. T. Higgins actually averaged more points than Devontae Smith, but T. Higgins had a couple games that really hurt his average. The Bills game where they called it because DeMar Hamlin is one of those. Do you have a preference when it comes to those two, like T. Higgins or Devontae Smith?
Wow, I do, but I like T. Higgins a lot. But T. Higgins also had some games last year where he was the main wide receiver 1 because Chase was out. So, but I do like T. Higgins. I thought Devontae Smith wouldn't last in the NFL and stuff like that, but he's kind of just because of his slim build, and I thought he'd get his ass kicked or something. But he's money,
Yeah, he really is. Yeah, I think most people will say, give me T. Higgins over Devontae Smith. And to me, the difference is, well, one, I think T. Higgins is a little more consistent. So if you prefer the consistency versus the big boom bust, T. Higgins does have boom games, but he is like a little less of some bust games, I guess is what I'm trying to say. You'll get the 20-point games, and then you'll get like a 7-8 point game, which is not killing you. More passing volume, a better probably pure passer, Burrow over Hurts, and they're going to pass the ball more. And then also the Eagles have a really good 3rd option. You can even throw Jalen Waddle into this, but both those teams, the Bengals and the Dolphins, especially the Dolphins, don't really have a great 3rd option. Bengals have Tyler Boyd. He's fine. But they don't have, I think the Eagles have the best 3rd option out of those 3 teams. But anyways, to finish up the receivers, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, we like them both. And then there's always the upside. If one of them goes down, the other one's going to be a smash play. So no one else. Quez Watkins, no. Plays a role in this team, but no. Olamide Zacchaeus, no. He couldn't make it with the Falcons, so that kind of tells you just the type of player he is. So, yeah, no one else to talk about, those 2 guys. And we talked about the RPOs with Eagles. That really plays into these A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, because when you run an RPO, it's a quick pass. It's a one-look pass. You're not scanning the field, looking at 2-3 options. You know who you're going to throw the ball to, and so that really plays into that's why like A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and Dallas Goedert can all be really good players, 2 top 10 receivers, a top 5 tight end, even though the Eagles, Jalen Hurts only passed for 3,800 yards. And you think, like, how does that add up? Well, RPOs, they go directly to these guys. So, but yeah, we'll finish up with Dallas Goedert. Really, really good player. I love Dallas Goedert. He had a really good year last year. 700 yards and 55 catches while missing 5 games is really, really impressive. Really impressive. Like you do that. You do that over, if he plays a 17-game season, like he's, I think, 1,000 yards, 991 yards. Dad, I think you're in on Goddard, right?
I'm definitely in on Goddard. He seems to be the best 3rd option here on this team for as far as catching passes and stuff like that. They utilize him. He's good. You pointed out the stats and stuff like that. So, there's nothing wrong with going in on this guy at the right time.
Yep. Yeah. I have nothing bad to say about Goddard. Like, again, my general tight end strategy, I'm not going to have a lot of Goddard because he's going in the 5th round. And I just don't want to spend that high of a pick on a tight end that's not like Kelsey or Andrews, essentially. But I'm not going to bat an eye or roll an eye at seeing anyone drafting Goddard in the 5th round because he's just a consistently good tight end. Finally, he got out of the shadow of Zach Ertz, and he's kind of proven why. Was highly touted. He averaged 9.6 points a game. He missed those 5 games. If he didn't miss those 5 games, he would have been tight end 5. Right there behind Mark Andrews. So, good player. Really, really good player. And one thing to note with Devontae Smith, his most consistent stretch, Devontae Smith, was when Goddard was out. So I do think Goddard affects Devontae Smith a lot. Something to keep in mind with Devontae Smith. We talked about he has those bust games. The 5 weeks that Goddard were out, he basically had at least 5 catches and 50 yards in every game. Obviously, he had a couple games higher than that, but he didn't bust. So Goddard obviously affects Devontae Smith, and it kind of feels like he makes this whole offense go a little bit. So, yeah, totally fine with Goddard. No one behind him. Dan Arnold, another guy. Jack Stoll, another guy. Grant Calcaterra, another guy, So, any last words, Dad, with the Eagles?
There's some good
Super Bowl
there's some
operations, yeah?
There's some top-notch fantasy options there. They should repeat offensively. The passing, the rushing numbers, and everything else. So they should be right up there.
Yes, indeed. I agree with all that. And they're going to be a good team. I hope they were just absolutely destroying everyone last year, which is why Jalen Hurts, I don't even know, he would sit in the 4th quarter a lot because they just didn't have to pass the ball. It actually would be a little nice if they were in a little bit more competitive games and we can see even more fantasy production from these guys.
Well, I think the NFL has a way, their defenses has a way of catching up to things like this. So we'll see if it's this year where, you get some tape and you figure out what's this guy going to do. I know he's been playing, Jalen Hurts has been playing for a couple of years and stuff like that. So we'll see, if it catches up to him or not.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. But we're going to finish up there. We'll be back with the next team, I believe, just looking at the list, is the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Pittsburgh Steelers. We got 6 more teams left. So we're getting there. Enjoy the football this weekend. As always, like the video and subscribe. We'll catch you guys next time.